Indiana basketball on the court this Sunday for the first time in public, taking on Marion, I believe, and an exhibition game that begins at 1 o'clock at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall. And this is going to be the first look at this squad. Very interested to see how the pieces come together. It's going to be interesting to see who's doing what as far as Mackenzie Mbako from the wing, Kellel Ware from the 5, Malik Renew, I'm assuming, is going to be the 4. That's, on paper, that's of course, an Xavier and Trey Galloway, but on paper, that's a pretty damn good lineup.
Yeah, it is, and I'm really intrigued to see, what the offense looks like. Obviously, I'd prefer Trace Jackson Davis to still be here, but
but do you? Because
in one way,
the good and the bad is, they were a 1 or a 2-man circus and 2-ring, and this is a team that is set up to not be that, to exactly be the opposite, to get scoring. You're going to get scoring from Xavier Johnson. We've talked about the need of scoring from Trey Galloway, more shooting from behind the arc. Defenses teams have to, and he has to give them a reason to respect them. Otherwise, they're going to play off of him. Then you've got the aforementioned Mackenzie Mbako is shooting from outside as well. Kellel Ware and Mackenzie and Malik Renew, among others, but that's 5 different options. Indiana did not have that last year.
Yeah, a little one-dimensional the last several years, understandably so, when you got a monster down there. We haven't really seen a Mike Woodson offense that is more open, more modern. So that's probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most once the game action starts. Probably will take a little bit of time, but they need to rack up some wins early and often. Mike Woodson continues to talk about how balanced they should be and how different they will play. So we'll see what that ends up looking like because they were, he did mention they'll play a little bit of back to the basket because he said in college, you can still do that a little bit. So I'm assuming he's talking about Malik. Other than that, have a 7-footer that can shoot, more guys around the perimeter, need some sophomores to step up. But I'm looking forward to that for sure starting Sunday.
Asa Newell, one of the former 5 stars Indiana chasing, committed to Georgia yesterday. Mike White in Georgia, the former Florida coach. A little surprising there that he was able to land him. But I've still been surprised that Georgia's just not been able to put a better basketball team together just because they're the Atlanta area and all that. Indiana's done a good job getting guys out of there like Caleb Banks and why I always forget his name. I cannot. He's hurt. Daggone it. Ja'Kai Newton. Ja'Kai Newton, yeah. Both of those guys coming out of there. So Indiana's done a good job recruiting that area. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Mike Woodson has put together. This offense that has been so pretty much get the ball to Trace Jackson Davis. That's not what it's going to be. It's going to be more wide open. You're going to have options. How that goes in the Big Ten, how that plays in the Big Ten, how can they challenge the defenses of the teams like Michigan State and Purdue and make things difficult on them, because that's what, and other Ohio State, Illinois, Maryland, those are the teams they're going to have to do that against, and to not end up where a lot of people think they're going to be, a middling Big Ten team finishing anywhere from 3 to 6. Some people have had them lower than that, but there is just a group there that, and a lot of Indiana fans are like, well, I don't understand how in the world people could think that they would be down there 6th. And I'm like, well, for one, because there are just so many questions. There's so many new faces. How can you not? You don't know. And we won't know until we see them play. But also, some of these faces are not only new. Mackenzie Mbako was a freshman in high school last year. Kalel Ware didn't play that much. So you've got guys that are just new and inexperienced. There's a lot of reasons, because you're going up against teams that are not that. They're old and experienced and good. So that's why the expectations for Indiana from a lot of the pundits, so to speak, are not as high as what some of the fans would like to see.
Yeah, and they've been doing it longer. If Indiana, obviously they had a pretty solid year last year, but it's not like they had some crazy run or something to make you think, this team is 100% on the rise. It seemed like a pretty good season, kind of put them back on the map in some ways, but then you lose, two guys in the lottery in the NBA. So yeah, you bring in some good talent, but that's what the pundits are looking at. They see that, yeah, pretty decent year. They haven't proved it yet. Woodson era has been pretty good, but nothing crazy yet. And then you lose, an absolute legend and then a lottery pick point guard. So yeah, I can totally relate and understand why most of the projections have them in that range.
Yeah, and it's also going to be interesting to see which of these other teams that are in this mix are going to be more difficult than we know at the moment. Teams like Ohio State, who did not have a good year last year, but were thought to be a little bit better than that. Maryland just could not win on the road last year. They beat everybody at home. So how have they improved? Illinois, always in the mix with transfers and whatnot. So it's going to be a wait and see deal. But Indiana is going to get challenged early and often once their schedule gets going, after they get through a few of these early games, the 2 exhibition games and a few others, because it starts off hot and heavy when you play the defending national champion UConn Huskies, and then the day after that you're going to play either a Louisville team or a Texas team. So they're going to get challenged really quickly, very quickly.
Yeah, ideally they work out the kinks pretty early, and they're figuring out the right combinations. There's going to be a lot of tough decisions as far as rotation, or are you playing certain matchup with certain guys? Does it just straight up matter, who's balling right at the beginning? That should help in practice. A lot of competition, just like kind of like the Pacers situation right now. But yeah, they're not going to have a ton of time. The college game, if you're waiting until January, February to get going, you don't have the Tom Izzo luxury of playing well enough and then really taking off every year. You gotta rack up some wins and be competitive and start building your resume early.